The war in Gaza has been at the top of the news for nearly 2 years. What many don't realize is 20 years ago, Israel's government expelled thousands of Jews from the territory. The move was supposed to bring peace, but it failed miserably. CBN News Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl has this look at the recent and ancient history of Gaza.
In 2005, Israel's Prime Minister Ariel Sharon uprooted 21 Jewish communities in the Gaza Strip and 4 in Samaria, or the northern West Bank, expelling 10,000 Israelis. Known as the disengagement, it was supposed to bring peace. Since then, Hamas and other terror groups have launched tens of thousands of rockets from Gaza, carried out many suicide bombings, and dug numerous terror tunnels. The murder of nearly 1,200 Israelis in the October 7th cross-border attack is deemed the worst massacre of Jewish people since the Holocaust. It's prompted many Israelis to call for a return to Gaza.
People actually don't know. Gaza is Jewish. Jews have lived in Gaza on and off for thousands of years.
Gaza is first mentioned in Genesis and later named as part of the inheritance given to the biblical tribe of Judah. Avi Abelo from the Pulse of Israel says even in the early 1900s, there were Jews living in Gaza.
Before Israel was established in the 1940s, there were Jewish communities in Gaza. Unfortunately, the British, because they didn't want to defend the Jews, they basically expelled them. They said, run away, because we were being killed by the pogroms by the Arab Muslims in the 1920s and the 1930s.
From the 1948 establishment of Israel until the 1967 Six-Day War, Gaza was under Egyptian control. Following Israel's victory, most of the 21 Jewish communities there were established in the 1970s and early 80s. The communities began to thrive. Over 30 years, agriculture grew to a $60 million per year industry, producing 15% of Israel's exported vegetables. Nicknamed the Celery Lady, Anita Tucker successfully farmed in her community of Netzer Chazani for decades. 10 years ago, she told CBN's Scott Ross about one of her first encounters with the Arabs there.
One day we see, like out of no place comes, like out from under the sand dune comes this Arab with his keffiyeh and his long galabiyah, his long Arab robe. We see they have bread and salt in their hands in the Muslim tradition. Bruchim habayim, welcome, they say to us. We're so glad that you're here.
Tucker says the local Arabs were happy for their success.
They were happy with that blessing because there was work for their people. We taught them modern agriculture.
She said the relationship started to break down when the world began talking about peace.
I say they misspelled it, and instead of writing P-E-A-C-E, somebody by mistake wrote P-I-E-C-E, and they started tearing us to pieces and tearing the Arabs living in Gaza to pieces.
Yair Shoshan was an 18-year-old resident of the community of Gadid in 2005.
We knew the minute we would leave the farms of Gush Katif, we knew we would pay a price. We knew it would cost us in missiles, in terror attacks, and shootings. In the end, here we are, closing the circle.
The 9,000 residents of Gush Katif decided not to leave voluntarily. They felt they had settled the biblical land promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob with the blessing of the Israeli government. Until the end, they believed for a miracle.
It was the saddest thing that the soldiers participated in the disengagement. They evacuated us. They pulled us out. They took us out by force. And we thought it wouldn't happen. Until the last day, we were sure. The gardeners were taking care of the gardens. And until the last day, we were watering the grass, and we were certain it wouldn't happen.
After more than 30 years of nourishing successful communities, it took just a week to obliterate Jewish life on the sand dunes of Gaza.
I thought it was a terrible mistake to withdraw because it sends the wrong message to the enemy that you are going back under pressure, that you are actually surrendering because you just don't want to fight.
Israeli Minister for Diaspora Affairs, Amichai Chikli, served in the IDF at the time.
I think that October 7th is a direct result of the disengagement. And I have one thing to say about it. We have betrayed the land of Israel in 2005, and the land did not forget and did not forgive. We should never abandon an inch of our soil in Judea and Samaria, Jerusalem, etc.
6 months before the disengagement, Polls showed nearly 2/3 of Israelis supported it.
Many people who supported the disengagement on the villages nearby Gaza, they really thought that it will bring peace.
Chickley says it's a tough lesson to learn. A recent poll now shows that 76% of Israelis believe it was a mistake to pull out. In the eyes of their enemy, he says, every Jew in Israel is a settler who doesn't belong here, whether in Gush Katif or Tel Aviv.
They see it from a religious perspective. They see it as a Muslim territory.
President Trump said recently that Israel made a mistake in pulling out of Gaza. Abelo says it's time for Israel to return.
That test to see if they can have their own state blew up in everyone's faces. They want to destroy us. They cannot live there. We have to move back and live there and take it back again. Time to make Gaza Jewish again.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Now, that's not a story you're going to see anywhere else, to actually know the history of Gaza, what happened in 2005, and how there was such great hope that if the Palestinians of Gaza, the Arabs of Gaza, had a chance to have freedom and have their own elections, that they would want to create a model city, an example for the entire world. And it was all because of pressure from the Bush administration. That was what was going on behind the scenes. And the thought was, we will have free elections. And they did. And what did the people of Gaza do? Well, they elected Hamas. What did Hamas then do? Well, they went and massacred the Fatah party members. They literally took them to the tops of buildings in Gaza and threw them over to kill them. And then they said, well, that was nice to have free elections, so thank you very much for electing us. We're not going to have elections ever again. And so it's been this terror group dictatorship in charge of that area ever since, and all they do is launch attacks against Israel. My father got very famous for calling out Prime Minister Sharon for doing that deal. It looks today he was right. And as we look forward to a future of Gaza and the people of Gaza, it needs to be under Israeli control. I think that needs to be part of the deal, that from a security standpoint, we're not going to allow terror groups to fester within that area. From a civilian population standpoint, having them elect their own leaders makes a lot of sense, but it still needs to be under Israeli control.